Welcome to the first episode of the self-leadership sessions. I'm really excited to introduce this space where I can come in and talk unfiltered about my own progression as a leader. And it has been quite an interesting journey. It's over a year ago that I decided to really try with FitByFood. I had this vision, or I knew what I wanted to do, I think almost like 8 years ago, maybe even more. I knew that I wanted to work with this. I wanted to work with nutrition. I wanted to help women that had the same issue that I had. And I remember being so motivated by the idea that there is nothing out there. There is nothing that solves this issue. And that made me want to start to study. And I had this period after I turned 18 that I wanted to travel abroad and find myself. So that's what I did for around 4 years. And after that, I realized, okay, I want to do now something with my career. I want to start to work with this, with women, with binge eating, with nutrition. And I want to do this whole holistic package solution that has helped me. And I discovered around the same time that I moved abroad, I discovered this way of eating. And I just stuck to that. I continued eating that way as I was living abroad. And I lost a lot of weight. Without trying, I kept binging. I kept my coping mechanism. And I didn't understand why it worked. I thought it felt so strange. Like it went against anything and everything that I was taught. So I wanted to understand it. That's also why I wanted to study after a while. I wanted to understand, why does this work and how can it be this way and people don't know about it. So I went back to my home country and then I started studying at the university. And that has also been a long journey of understanding the nutrition world, why it's not common knowledge, how it's a bit corrupt as well, and understanding limitations and people being biased in the science world and stuff like this. And I realized very early that I do not want to be employed by anyone. I want to do this on my own. And after I graduated, I felt like I was not ready. I wanted to have more time before I was doing FitByFood, and I didn't have the name for the company at that time. So it was all very dimmed. Like I didn't understand. It wasn't a clear path. And also at this point, I only had module 1. Like it wasn't even a module, but the whole concept was just focusing on the diet change. And the module 2 and 3 came eventually as I started to find my place more and started to be more at home in myself. But after I graduated, I wanted to be employed temporarily because I felt not ready to do my vision yet. So then I started to work at a health supplement store for around almost 2 years. I worked there, and it was a great experience in practicing selling health as a concept, motivating why, and also being an authority in health. And that brought up a lot of limitations in how I perceived myself, my own insecurities, but it also made me evolve a lot. And I was at a space where I could channel out my passion, I felt like I could really be in that energy of reverence towards health, and how I could, with my knowledge, with my passion, help other people that felt lost. And there as well, I got so in contact with my longing for FitByFood, because a lot of women came in there and asked for a magic pill to lose weight. It happened so many times, and every time it happened, I felt this ache in my heart of just wanting to help, and also wanting to have something that I could talk about, or I could suggest. And I tried my best with what was in the store and really tried to be helpful, but it became this, like, when it happened, it felt like it was almost like the universe teasing me. And I had a lot of frustration regarding not talking about food with people. I was talking about pills, and even though it was health, like alternative things, it was still pills that would be extracts from plants, and it was kind of like alternative. It wasn't like I was in the like pharmacy world. Like, I wasn't talking about synthetic pills. I was talking about the more like the organic things, but still it wasn't food. So it kind of still felt like I was being a sellout in a sense, even though of course it gave me a lot of things and so on, but I was beginning to notice how it was not aligned for me as well. So the idea of having my own company was still there, but I did not feel ready yet. So me and my partner bought a cabin, and we moved away from that from that town into a new town. And I didn't think that I would talk so much about history here, but I guess that's where I want to go now, so let's stick to it. So we moved to a new town, and there were some issues with my past employer, and it was a miscommunication, and that made me kind of it didn't overlap with the new employment. I didn't find anything in time, so I spent a few months in the new cabin without a job. And I realized that this is perfect. I can do this. I can be unemployed for a while and try to reconnect with myself. And this is where the idea started to be planted in my mind. I started to realize, okay, I have a lot of things to work on with my mental aspect, or my mental realm, in order to do FitByFood. And I still didn't have the name, it came later. But anyway, I had a few months where I was just by myself at home. So the only person I met almost was my boyfriend when he came home from work. And I really went deep, and I got this inspiration of wanting to do the company from home, wanting to do it from home, but not yet. I realized I skipped a step here. I thought that I wanted to do it firstly in person. I wanted to have a location that women could come to. And this idea was brought into me that I got presented with an opportunity. Someone, a neighbor of mine, I was talking to her and talking about what I wanted to do, and she said that she knew a person in town that had a room for rent, very cheap. So I took that as a nudge from the universe. Okay, I will try this out. I will just force myself to try it out, and that's what we're going to talk a lot about, my inner pusher. But I felt in my stomach when she was talking about it, I'm still not ready. I felt that voice in the back of my mind, but I still took it as this is a sign. I have to try it out. So I messaged the woman that had the location, and we worked out the details. I went there, I saw the place, and I rented it. But I got so overwhelmed because at this point, I had got a job, a full-time job at a supermarket, because I needed to work out my income. We had this whole new cabin, we had a loan, so I needed to make sure that I was standing on a stable ground because I got very stressed about finances. So then I was in that space where I had a full-time job, or 80% was the job, but almost full-time. And then I had a location, and I was trying to feel into how this would work out. Like, how do I do social media? Like, how do I put myself out there? And it felt such, like, I was so unregulated. I was so overwhelmed, but I just kept on pushing because I felt like I have to try now. This is my opportunity. And I got super scared that it would fail. So I pushed myself even more. I did not listen into myself, but I pushed myself even more. And then I got the idea that I wanted to contact the town's newspaper and wanted them to do a spread on me. So that would be my publicity. And at the moment when I contacted them, it felt exciting and fun, and I was proud of myself. But when I did the interview with them, afterward I was super nervous, and when the paper came out, there was some pictures of me, and it was such a traumatic experience that they kind of like worded something in a way that I didn't intend them to. And that's not a shocker. I know newspapers do this because they want readability and or like they want people to be interested. And also it kind of like really blew up this exposure wound that I have, because I do have a past of social anxiety, and that social anxiety can still be present in me when I'm around people if I don't feel trust in that environment. And this was like just catapulting me in the wound. So the people that I was working with saw the news article and they asked me about it, and I built up so much pressure onto myself that I collapsed. Like after the week after, I said to the woman that had the location that I don't want to rent it anymore. And I just pushed this down. I felt shame and I felt hopelessness and I felt like a failure. And this was for real. It was traumatic for me because I did not listen into my own boundaries and I just kept on pushing. And it came from a beautiful, loving place. I see that I think back to it, and I still see the lovingness of me doing this because that's the only thing that I knew. Like my pushing myself out of my comfort zone had been the coping mechanism and strategy that I always done. And that's how I came out of my social anxiety to some extent. It wasn't as controlling me anymore because I kept pushing myself and do stuff that kept me going outside my comfort zone. So that was the only mechanism that I had in my belt. And that showed because I got so overwhelmed. And then afterwards, after I landed a few weeks after, I realized that I know that I wanted to do YouTube. Like I knew I always loved YouTube. When I was maybe like 13, 14, I had social anxiety at my worst, and YouTube was my savior. I kept watching all the popular YouTubers back then, and I loved YouTube. Like I spent all my days on YouTube, and I loved the concept that YouTube is a platform that anyone can be on. I love that freedom of speech. And I knew after that incident with the location and I got overwhelmed, I realized that YouTube is the perfect thing for me to do because I can do it in my own pace and from home, in my own sanctuary. So I pushed myself again to do YouTube, but I did YouTube when it came to another concept, not FitByFood. So I did it with astrology, an astrology channel. So I just started to film myself, and it was so triggering. I was so nervous, but I did it. And I did it in my loft. Like I had a loft with books and like a place where I had like just like a cozy little place. So I filmed there and I put it on YouTube. And I kept doing that. Like the motivation was there. I wanted to do something other than nutrition because it felt too raw. Still, like from the whole incident. So I kept doing astrology with the mindset of I'm doing this in order to practice for the future. And it was very healing for me. Like I kept doing YouTube videos when I felt like I had the capacity. I put it out there and I got some response, and it was this healing process all the time when I was interacting with this concept, filming myself, getting feedback. It was such like I could do it in my own tempo. So my body started to trust me again. And while I was doing that, I still had that supermarket job. And fast forward, I did that for like the YouTube focus and the supermarket for maybe a year or so in order to stabilize myself after trying out the nutrition. And then I came to that point where I felt frustration because I wanted to try something again with nutrition. So I realized that, okay, I need more space, more time at home so that I can really do this concept now of nutrition. And at this point, it was it's tough with time sometimes. But now it's almost like 2 years ago, I think. It was like spring 2023, maybe. And then I got the idea that I wanted to do nutrition again. So then I remember that I thought of how can I do this, because I can't do this what I want to do if I have the job. Like I can't do both things because the job was very also physically exhausting, and it was so high speed, and I did not want to have that stress all the time and do the nutrition again. So I decided to study from a distance because I wanted that space and time at home. So I did study, and I studied graphic design. And when it came to the autumn, when the studying was about to start, I also got the idea, the name came to me that I wanted. It actually came when I was at the gym showering, and I just got the name FitByFood. And I felt like, that's a good name. Because I wanted, it's kind of like it's this beautiful thing of giving the credibility or like the thanks to food, and also the thing with kind of like knocking a hole of the controversial thing that we believe that we have to starve ourselves in order to lose weight. But the name actually tells you that it is possible to get FitByFood. Like that's why I keep saying it in the end of the videos, that it is the food that makes you slim if you are eating the right types of foods. And why we're not doing that now, why it's not happening for everyone, is because we have that processed foods, and it's not the naturalness that keeps us slim anymore. We have to keep watching what we eat, because the normal diet, the normal food that we eat, that we have access to, are not giving us that natural balance. So the name felt like a statement, and I really liked that. So it kept like going around in my mind, and I kept like, okay, that's the name. And then I started to study. So I stopped working and I started to study, and I felt, okay, now I have to do this, and now I have to. And at this point, it also had come to me that I wanted to do a module. I wanted to film stuff and then put it on a website and present it outward to people. I wanted to have a finished product that people could interact with. So that's also when all in the same time I kept doing astrology, and had also like the house, like the cabin we kept, we're renovating the cabin. So there was a lot of things going on in the meanwhile, and a lot of things for me has been to multitask and learn to put my energy in different directions strategically. And this is where the self-leadership aspect comes in, and I'm going to talk about that. But also in this time I got a job by distance that was only 20%, but it kind of gave me the financial income, which was great. And this job was actually in health, so it was kind of more in line with what I want to do. So now we are 2024 maybe. No, wait, 23. Well, 2 years ago. 1.5 maybe. Yeah, okay, maybe that's not super important, but I began to study. I had the house renovation project. Also, I had a 20% job to give me a steady income, and then the studying. So I took a loan for studying because I really wanted to go into this with commitment. Like I wanted to have that space so I could create FitByFood. And then also we adopted a dog, and yeah, it was a lot of things going on at the same time. So the dog is a rescue, so he demanded a lot of attention. And that's also why I wanted to adopt a dog. Okay, first of all, I love dogs. It's always been like, it's so close to my heart. I love dogs so much. And I always wanted to get a dog with my current partner, and now that we have that, or this cabin, and I also started to study from home, we could have a dog. So that's also why the timing kind of aligned with getting a dog, but it took a lot of energy. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to start with the module 1. And that took a long time. Like this was in the point where I needed to start to balance all the different aspects or areas in my life that needed some responsibility or some planning. And it took a long time before I found my footing there. And we started with renovating the house, so me and the dog could not live in the cabin for half a year because there were builders all over the place. So when they were here, we were living at my partner's mom's home that stood empty. And when I was there with my dog, alone in the forest, I was doing module 1, and it was a lot of resistance for me to do that because still I hadn't integrated fully module 2. Or no, I mean module 3. Yeah. Module 2 I had integrated. And module 3, a reminder, is that it's all about healing, inner child, being your inner parent, regulating and taking responsibility. So I kept pushing myself to film, and it took a long time because of that. I didn't listen into myself. I didn't honor my body's capacity, and I just kept pushing. And I still see that it was something that had to happen in order for me to start. It's part of the journey, but still it delayed the process. So I tried everything. Like I filmed with different backgrounds. I did so many retakes, and the structure came out good, but the process to get there, it took more than half a year. And when I was done, it was around the same time that me and the dog could move back to the cabin. The house is not done. It's not fully renovated yet. The workers, I don't know the English word, but they did the outside, the skeleton of the house. So we are still left with doing the inside. So me and the dog moved back, and I was done with module 1, and it felt kind of symbolic that I'm doing this project, my own company, at the same time as the house. Feels kind of funny. And then so I was complete with module 1, and I was feeling the pressure because I did not trust myself yet. I was just pushing myself. Now the new focus was, okay, get out there, promote this. And the fear of failure came back, and I was scared, I was feeling anxious, and I was looking for guidance, looking for some relief, because I felt so overwhelmed by the fear of failure. And I think this is the trauma that happened when I had that location in town where I did not really listen into myself. So I was so scared and did not trust myself. And while this is happening, one of my biggest hobbies and focuses is self-help, like self-development. That's why I want to work with this, why I want to do this, because I want to work with other women, and psychology and the mindset work, everything like that is the most fun thing that I can imagine. So while I was doing this whole process that I'm describing, I was still also in my free time, like learning astrology, learning things of psychology, and also going to retreats to try to find someone that could mentor me, because I felt super alone, and I felt like I needed guidance here. And while I was doing this, especially since I was studying, I had a very limited budget, so I could not get the assistance that I really craved. So that's why it took a long time. And when I was coming back, I also went to a women's festival, and it was the spiritual retreat thing, and there I discovered a mentor that did breath work. And it really clicked for me. I felt like this is the missing key. If I do this while I'm creating my modules, I will feel much more capable. I will feel so much more trust. And I had a lot of super deep experiences where I was processing and crying and starting to rebuild that trust and love for my body. So that was a very important thing in my own self-leadership journey of getting that modality of breath work that really helped me. So I kept doing breath work as I was starting to do YouTube. So YouTube for FitByFood. And there was this trial and error period, maybe 4 or 3 months, where I was doing breath work once or twice every day in order to keep my body safe enough to do FitByFood. And the sneaky thing here is that I didn't catch this, but I was pushing myself to do YouTube because the fear of failure was so strong still. So before I started doing YouTube, I was so fixed on I need to do 3 videos a week. So I did that. That was my main priority. I thought all the time, okay, 3 videos a week I need to do. When will I do them? So I kept on doing this for a period. And I was not in any form like feeling into, okay, am I inspired now? Can I do this now? I was just pushing myself and like really like getting concept. I kept getting like inspired, but when I was actually filming, I was so harsh on myself. and I wasn't forgiving at all. I was just pushing myself. And also I was really trying to like put the titles and the descriptions and tags of the videos in a particular way that I felt would attract people, because the fear of failure was so present, and it made me not feel authentic. And I didn't realize this. I was just pushing myself to do 3 videos a week, and then I kept doing the video titles that I felt like, okay, this might be good for the people that I want to see this. Like, how can I attract them? And then I kept on attracting people that kept giving me advice on how I should be. And it really triggered me, because I realized that I myself am trying to find my way, I realized, okay, I can say it like this, they were mirrors for me, that I was not being authentic, even though I believed that I was, because I did have resistance to doing the thumbnails in a particular way, or writing text, or saying stuff in a way that I believed that I should. And when they commented that, I realized that, okay, I am doing something wrong here. This is not the frequency that I want to attract back to me. They are showing me that I am kind of like doing or being a sellout. And that is really not what I wanted to do. So they I think it was 2 comments, and they kind of like knocked me, because I felt, or I believed, that I was being authentic and being truthful, but I wasn't. So it made me have more resistance. So I didn't want to film anymore. I stopped filming and took a break, and I started to focus again on astrology. So I focused on the website with astrology, because I do have 2 companies now, one with astrology and one with FitByFood. So I kept on focusing my attention there. I even started to do 2 modules for the astrology website, which was perfect and great. And I did have some kind of like in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, should I do FitByFood? Should I? But I kept on having resistance. So I decided, okay, I will let that simmer for a bit and then come back. So I eventually came to the point where I had done astrology for 2 months, maybe, focused on it, and then I got some inspiration again to do FitByFood. And while I was doing the astrology, I got so many insights and reflections on why is astrology so easy and fun, while FitByFood feels very heavy. And then I realized that I put a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to FitByFood. I'm not forgiving. I realized the mistake of just pushing out 3 videos a week, of the titles not feeling sincere. I realized so much of how it was different, because astrology just felt fun and easy for me. And this realization of dimming the fun in FitByFood was very eye-opening. And I realized that this is me doing this. This is my mental state. This is my attitude towards FitByFood, because the difference here is that FitByFood to me feels the most important. It feels closest to my heart, and I really want it to work. I really want to work with this. I really want to help people, because I do believe that this concept is is so valuable, and I just want people to try it out. And I kept on swinging between hopelessness, feeling like a victim, into really believing in my concept. And all the time when I kept going in between these two and focusing on, when I was in hopelessness, I was focusing on the views and stuff like this. I was feeling hopeless and really abandoning myself when I was really second guessing my own vision. And this was the cost, that eventually it was no fun, it was a lot of pressure, and I had a lot of resistance to working with FitByFood. And what astrology taught me is that if I focus on my own enjoyment when creating, if I focus on firstly myself, that I'm doing it for myself, then everything else will follow. So I got so many insights when doing and shifting my focus from FitByFood, the pressure, the harshness, the self-criticism, the perfectionism, into just the lightness of something else. It gave me a lot of clarity. And then I got the inspiration back and I kept on going back to FitByFood, the website. I redid the website. I redid the module layout. For like maybe a month I did that, and then I got the inspiration to start with module 2 to really integrate and get some repetition for myself when it comes to habits and mindset. And that it's very funny how things work. It's very funny. Because the thing is that when I discovered module 1, 2, and 3 in my own journey and realized that this is the blueprint, this is how to stop overeating, and it worked for me. It was amazing, and I got that like download of this is the path. And when I realized that I wanted to teach it to other people, other women, then I kind of like had climbed up the ladder of now I'm wanting to level up, so the responsibility, the regulation, everything needs to be on another like level, another layer. So it needs to go deeper. I have to step it up, and I didn't step it up. And that's what happened when I started YouTube. I didn't step it up. I was still using the harshness, the pushing. And that led me to this realization that I need to step it up for real. And this is why I want to keep on including these types of insights. Because even though I was not stepping it up in the beginning, I was still being harsh on myself. Also, that's another important thing. I was overeating a lot during the YouTube launch. Or not a lot, but I did. And that created also a feeling of that I was imposter. That I felt like, how can I talk about this if I still do it? And of course, I realized also that it's perfect that I kept doing that, because that's the whole thing with FitByFood. I can overeat and still regain my weight. I did not fluctuate at all during that time. I just felt uncomfortable in my stomach, but that's the only thing. So it kind of like was funny that it happened that way also, because it kind of just solidified my belief in this process or in this method that I can overeat if I am unregulated. And then the realization that landed that, and I need to step it up. I need to level up if I want to do this on a big scale. And that's also now why I want to do module 2 for my own sake, because I want to really integrate the habits piece, the mindset, the self-concept. And I'm doing my own modules as I am entering into this new self-leadership phase in my life. And I think that is very beautiful, that I'm using my own methods, my own modules to help myself. If that is not self-leadership, I do not know what is. And I am looking forward on looking back at this in the future, listening to this and really reconnecting with this part of myself that's gone through this journey now. And it's such a beautiful journey for my own sake when it comes to responsibility and forgiving myself and taking accountability and really committed, like having reverence towards myself and my body and honoring this path. And also honoring this path from a loving, compassionate place in me for myself, but also other women. And this is, I think, the path for me in becoming the embodied leader that I want to be. I want to be strong, and I want to not be dependent at all on external validation. I am choosing myself. That is the whole point to this. And I love, even though there's a part of me, my inner child is sad sometimes, feel hopeless and so on, but that I can still keep that inner child safe and choose with my leadership, with my responsibility, with my long-term thinking. I can choose to stick to my vision and keep on going even if I don't get any external response. That is I will get that will create such depth in me when this shifts, when I feel like this starts to become to a point where I feel like I'm getting response from others. If I look back to this point now that I still kept showing up, I will be so touched of my own commitment, and I know this, and I would not want it any other way. So the leadership, the self-leadership that has to happen from my own journey with this is kind of like mirrored in the whole journey of FitByFood. From choosing the new type of lifestyle, the diet change into high carb, low fats, and being able to overeat still if you need to, if you have to. If the inner child feels like it wants to, then do that. But then you go over into the habits, you get the more responsible side of you that keeps on choosing differently when you feel impulsed into overeating, and you choose with responsibility, you self-lead yourself into the new habits, and then eventually you start to do the inner work. And I love that this is mirrored in my own journey, and it's like I'm going through it twice, because I went through it in my own introverted journey, and then I want to now turn it inside out. I want to show other people, and while I'm doing this, it comes back. This is repeated. I'm going through it again, and as I'm doing that, it kind of integrates more. It gets embodied more. And I believe there's a reason for this. So, this was interesting. And I really enjoyed this. It was one like a one take, and I want to do it like this, even though there's moments where I said I didn't find my words and stuff like this, but I think that's also very healing for me to do, because I kind of feel more authentic, and I don't edit this, and I just show up and tell my truth and let that be it. That is enough. So this feels very good. I'm very happy that I'm doing this, and thank you so much for listening, and I hope this gave some insight for yourself when it comes to your own relationship to yourself. Not abandon yourself, because that is really what it is about. Self-leadership is that you stay loyal to your own path, your own goals, and not abandon yourself and look for external safety, but you keep on being loyal to your path, to your goals. So I'll see you in the next video.